Every day, 34 people in their 20s and 30s are diagnosed with cancer.
On the 7th of July 2015, I was one of the 34.
On the 28th of August 2008, I was one of the 34.
These are the stories of what happens afterwards.
This is AfterThoughts. Hello, Alice May Purkiss.
Hello, Toby Peach. We are back.
A little song. That's like the first thing that people want to hear is you doing a little moment there.
Do they, or are they just being? Is it just being forced upon them?
Well, that's it. They could fast forward. You know, that's
they could. They probably do.
They probably do. You know, that's enough of Alice and Toby rambling on about absolutely nothing. We're not rambling about absolutely nothing, are we?
No, we're not. Toby, I am so thrilled to be back for season 5.
Yes, series 5. Yeah, series 5. That's the one. That's good. We're here. Good. Welcome. I don't know what series you're on, but we are series 5. Yes, and it is lovely to be back. Now, Alice, I feel like I'm normally the one who's like we get through our chat about what's going on inside your life, but I expect the listeners themselves want to know what's going on with Alice May Purkiss. Give us an update. What's going on in your life? You're doing some writing workshops, I believe.
Oh, I am doing some writing workshops. I'm working on the AfterThoughts anthology, in fact, where I am working with a bunch of people who were diagnosed in their teens or 20s or 30s, and we are all working together to hopefully produce a collection of poetry, fiction and non-fiction, and we're going to put it all together in hopefully a collection of works that people can read, and it's great. It's been such a fun piece to work on, and I am so excited for the world to see the pieces of work that these people are working on. They're such a great bunch of people, and
there are some people we've met before as well, yes. And on some various Beyond Arts projects, and people we've never met before as well. It's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a great bunch of people,
and it's all about stories, isn't it, Alice? Which is exactly
about
what we
stories.
Are all about here at AfterThoughts, and we've got some wonderful stories from Reielle for people to dive into. Oh, he said it again.
Dive in.
He loves to say dive in, doesn't he?
Loves to say dive in.
Reielle, who had ACC, which to extend that would be
adrenal cortical carcinoma, which is a very rare cancer. And I always think it's fascinating when we get people with rare cancer types coming on the podcast, because they have a very unique perspective. And I loved the way Reielle talked about her experiences of having a rare cancer on the podcast.
And finding connections as well, right? Mm. That was one of the important stories I really heard that, and so should we pass over to Reielle?
Should we dive in? Hello and welcome to AfterThoughts, Reielle.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks. And so glad you could join us.
Absolutely.
For our first recording of Series 5, which is really exciting.
Very exciting. It is so nice to be back.
It is really nice to be back and to be kicking off what we hope is going to be a really, really exciting series with 7 brilliant storytellers. And Reielle, you're joining us for the first one.
That is amazing. A bit of pressure, but that's amazing.
There's no pressure whatsoever. We are going to dive into... Oh, that's the first time I said dive in. The dive in game. How many times does Toby say it in the series? We will find out.
We'll find out.
But we are here for the first part of AfterThoughts, which is always for us to get the chance to meet Reielle, storyteller for today, through our quick fire questions round, which are never that quick. Reielle, are you ready for the quickfire round?
I am ready.
Reielle, could you please tell us the pronouns that you use, please?
She, her.
And Reielle, who do people say that you look like?
Oh, there's one in particular, but I can't remember her name. But there's a program called Some Girls, and it's the main character. And yeah, just Google it. The main character from Some Girls.
Great,
yeah.
Thank you so much. What is your most used emoji?
Laughing emoji or crying emoji, because I laugh too much and I had the most horrible laugh, like a donkey. I'm so sorry. sorry. Continue.
That is great. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve? Oh, it has to be when you're chewing food really loudly in my ear. Yeah, it's the worst.
I ate my breakfast on Zoom with Toby earlier and I was very conscious of that.
It's fine.
I can only imagine.
If you could bake any cake, what would you bake?
Banana bread. Boom.
Oh, that was a quick one.
Yeah, I'm a baker. I'm a chef, former chef, so I love it. Yeah.
Oh
my God. That means we could get a good recipe afterwards.
Yeah. What film has made you laugh the loudest?
Ooh, All About the Benjamins. All About the Benjamins. You guys, write that one down as well. Very good film.
All About the Benjamins. We're here then for Series 5's big question. What do you prefer, Friends or How You Met Your Mother?
Ask that again.
Why?
Because you got it wrong. You said How You Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother, yeah.
What is it?
How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, right. Okay.
No, right, I got it.
Not How You Met Your Mother. How You Met Your Mother would be because you came out of a vagina.
Series 5's big question. Friends or How I Met Your Mother?
How I Met Your Mother, definitely.
Yes!
Definitely.
1 point to me.
But you both agreed?
No.
This is what we disagree on.
Wait, Toby, okay.
I disagree entirely. I think Friends is 417% better than How I Met Your Mother.
I like the theme tune. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
All About How I Met Your Mother. Thank you, Reielle. Yes, tick. And lastly, could you give us a one-liner on what your cancer diagnosis was?
So my cancer diagnosis is adrenal cortical carcinoma. A bit of a tongue twister, but yeah, ACC for short.
This series on Afterthoughts, we're also going to touch in on what happened before we dive in to what happened after. So, Reielle, could you give us a story of your diagnosis?
I had the surgery first and then I was diagnosed after. So I had obviously gone there like A&E wise and had like scans and stuff, and it was just like crazy. What's going on? So when I first stepped into the hospital, it was 2018 winter, and I was a chef, as I said before. And I remember being in the kitchen and having chest pain and stomach pain. And I was like, this is really weird, but I just kept putting it off. Chefs are like, we care about our health, but we just put it on the back burner, if you know what I mean? And eventually one day I was on the train to work on the way to like Warren Street sides. And I just got a pain and I was like, nope, I can't do this anymore. So I got up and went to the hospital. I spent about 15 hours in there, and I don't regret, because that saved my life. There was a wonderful gynecologist who had nothing to do with what cancer I've got now. I'm under endocrinology. Tongue twister for me. I'm so sorry. But yeah, a wonderful gynecologist, and she was so consistent, like amazing. And she was so informative. She wasn't patronizing. She was young. She was she was just really helpful, to the point where she was telling me things. She was like, yeah, your adrenal gland. I'd be like, okay, my adrenal gland. As soon as she left the room, I would be writing it down or Googling it, because I had no idea what an adrenal gland was. I feel really stupid, guys, but I know what a parmigiana is, but adrenal gland, I don't know. That's not me. But yeah, so I learned a lot along the way.
Next up on Afterthoughts, we're going to look at the beyond the diagnosis story. We are so often asked to tell that story of the diagnosis, but let's hear a story of what happened next.
So I had a wonderful, wonderful endocrinologist at UCLH. And when she was training to be an endocrinologist, she was trained by a professor. He's amazing, honestly. 10/10, amazing. And she was like, Reielle, obviously we've done a lot with you right now, but I feel like it will be in your best interest if I put you under him and his team, but it's a different hospital. And I was like, oh gosh, please don't tell me it's like so far away, because I come here so often. This is so close to my house. Like, what's going to happen? And she's like, don't worry, it's only St. Bart's. And I was like, okay, that's great. And then she moved me on to them. And I feel like my experience has been, I want to say wonderful in the weirdest way, but wonderful. The hospital itself, I have the best nurse. She's like a hippie. She is just the coolest woman ever. My professor, he's so intelligent. Everybody is just kind of just looks up to him in awe. And he made me feel so comfortable with a lot of situations, i.e., for example, my chemotherapy and stuff. In the beginning, didn't want to do it, but he kind of eased me into things, and it makes a big difference. Do you know what I mean? Moving on to St. Bart's was a big change for me, because I knew that it was me going from stage 2 to stage 4 cancer, and I was very, very, very scared. But moving on and having that support system, that team, that new team, and still having contact with UCLH, still having appointments with my old doctors and stuff, it just kept my mental just level. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've kind of had a good experience.
There are so many visible impacts of cancer. We might lose our hair, we might have scars, but there are a lot of invisible impacts too. And this section of Afterthoughts aims to unpack some of those. So we're going to hand over to Reielle now to share a story of some of the invisible impacts of a cancer diagnosis.
My one is a bit of two things. It's fertility and relationships. So when I started egg collection, you go there every single day, blood tests, the normal stuff. And I was kind of seeing someone from my past, so it was very comfortable, and I was comfortable with that person. But in the back of my head, I just felt like life was just like, you got to do everything now. Have a kid very soon. But then I had egg collection, and I was like, oh, okay, definitely not having it now. Either way, I was young. Way too young. Anyway, the thing that made me think, oh, I don't know how this is going to work, is when I actually went to go get the eggs harvested, and I looked around the room, because you could see other people and couples doing the same thing. I looked at a couple and I was like, that can't be him. Like, I can't put him through that. And I know it's really sad to say I can't put him through that, even though I'm going through it myself. But in reality, it's a very big, very, 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 very big step to take. And I think that was when we decided to part ways, because realistically, he wasn't ready and I wasn't ready. But also mentally, I just feel like that would be so selfish to put someone through that, and they're just not on the same ball as me. Like, I could mold myself into being that person, or I could be great. But if someone isn't, that's very, very selfish for what could come, a child, obviously. And I think that's been a lot of my situations since. I've always had, since diagnosis, I think nobody wanted to touch me with a barge pole, knowing that I've had cancer. Understandably, do you know what I mean? It's a bit scary, you know what I mean? But I feel like once we get past that stage, it goes on to fertility. Strangely, I'm only 24. And I've had my eggs collected, so there's that. And it always played on my head, and I always thought to myself, as a 24-year-old or 23-year-old or 20-year-old, however young I was at the time, what are you going to do? Like, what person's going to take you seriously in 4 years time, 5 years time to have a kid with, potentially, if you're with them, and be like, oh yeah, let's go for the long stage of having IVF reversed, you know what I mean, for myself. And unless someone's actually committed to doing that, then it's a very big step, and there's a lot to put someone through. So that's always been something that's like invisible. It could be visible for other people, but for me, it's definitely something that's invisible, because like finding the right person, someone that is actually doesn't pity party you all day, because I don't like a pity party. I really do not like that. I can speak about cancer all day, but I don't mean it in a way I want you to feel sorry for me. I just want you to hear me. Just listen. That's all. That's all, please. But it's kind of hard to get past that stage without them being like, oh, we're pity partying / you've got to make things so complicated. And I don't think I do. So yeah, I just feel like when it comes to the future of myself, relationships, and potentially kids, is such a taboo. It's such a weird taboo. And going back to being a Black woman, it's very hard if I wanted to do it solo. If I wanted to have a kid solo, there's not much donors in this in England. Trust me, there is literally like zilch. And so it limits us, to be fair. If I wanted to go for someone that was of the same race of myself, since like 2019, basically, I've always thought that, like, what if anything goes further, how could this work? And is this person mature enough for me? Usually the answer is no. No, you just know. But I'm very young, and time will only tell. Time will only tell. And I have my puppy now, so she's kind of my own baby, so it's okay.
Thank you, Reielle. I really appreciate that. And when the time is right, the time will be right.
Exactly.
And you know, you've got those eggs on ice. You've got those popsicles. I always call mine popsicles. And the popsicles are in the freezer.
Oh my God, I love that.
They'll be ready. They'll be ready when I'm ready for them. If I'm ever ready for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
On Afterthoughts, we also like to look at the wider impacts of a cancer diagnosis, and we like to tell stories of those around us. Reielle, let's hear your those around us story.
I could tell many stories about many people. But you know what? Because she's going to absolutely hate me for it, I'm going to do my sister. I live on a road. Everyone does live on the road. And people know me, obviously, and I talk a lot. I'm like, good morning, you're right, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm one of those people. Don't shout out for England. And also, people didn't know I had cancer until I lost my hair. I have a badge that says cancer on board, but unless you're really watching me, you're not really gonna acknowledge the badge. But mainly I had that badge because I had hair and I was sick, and it didn't add up. People just think cancer, bald head. Do you know what I mean? So when I lost my hair and I saw neighbours after a while because of COVID and stuff, some of their like their comments would be a bit like, they wouldn't think before they speak. I couldn't give you an example off the top of my head right now. Okay, nope, I can. There was one neighbour, and bless his heart, he's an old man. Okay, bless his heart. But he asked me if I'm going to start modelling, and I was like, no, I'm not going to start modelling. He said, so why did you shave your hair? I was like, you know, you just like, you think to yourself, how do I even explain it to him? Like, I'm not too well right now, actually. Yeah, and then by then I think he kind of caught on, but it threw me off and it put me in like I don't want to say bad mood, but in a weird type of mood where I was like, this isn't, I don't want to speak to people. Sorry, I don't want to speak to people about this because they don't know how to take it. And I've always had that thing as well. Once I tell people, not random people, but people that aren't family or friends, they don't know how to take it. And that puts me off having a conversation with them like completely. But when I got home, my sister, I remember there's a song called Brick from Brick. Yeah, it's not called that, but it's like along the lines of that anyway. And I had a pillow, and my godmother gave it to me, but it was like a V-shaped pillow, and it was wrapped up in a, what's it called, a vacuum bag. So when it came to me, it was really, really tight and small, and I put it to my ear, and I was like dancing with it, like with the phone. I was dancing, and then my sister put the song on behind it, and everybody found it funny. I was, when I saw the video after, it was hilarious to me, because it was like, why was I doing that? Why was the song behind it? That changed my whole mood, because that day I was like, I didn't feel great about having a bald head, but then she made me feel great. It sounds so horrible, but in a weird way, she's like, we've planned my funeral. And that sounds stupid, whatever. And she knows I like garage music. And she was like, Reielle, what do you think of this song? And I was like, I know this song. Like, why are you playing it for? She's like, because when they carry a coffin, that's what they're going to be playing for you. I was like, okay. Good morning to you too. Shit, sorry. But like, she just comes out with the most random, funniest things, and it makes my day. And she is the best sister, and she doesn't even know it.
We're getting better at talking about cancer, but there are still some things that we're not so good at talking about. So in the next section, we are gonna explore some of the lost conversations through storytelling.
I'd like to talk about the connections that I've made through my cancer journey. And I feel like I always bring it back to this, but it just has to be said. It's like the rarity of the cancer that I have. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, because the only way I've been able to connect to people, or even like get how people live their lives being on a chemotherapy drug for life, sorry, the dog again, is literally by going on Instagram. And I've created an Instagram page in which I connect to other people who have the same cancer as me. And that is really hard. Like, that was kind of hard, because I've asked professors, doctors, nurses, everybody. Nobody knows anyone that has ACC. And I think maybe the doctors they've come across a few people, but the age range has been off. It's been a male. It's been a woman who's already had kids and experienced life. It's just been always, it doesn't ever fit me. So I've always been that one individual person. So I feel like a lost story for me is being a Black woman in particular, because they always, I know why they do, but they always put it down to being a Black woman and XYZ and da-da-da. But it's like, it's very hard for me, because I feel like sometimes I can't even express myself without coming across aggressive, or very like, passive aggressive in a way. But all I really want is like raw answers. I want someone to be like unapologetically honest with me about their experience with having ACC. So I've always been fearful about posting about my cancer on my actual Instagram, my normal real Instagram, because I just get pity. I don't like that. So one of my friends whose mum sadly passed away this year, she was speaking to me, and she was like, Reielle, I think you should do an Instagram. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, that's just every day someone's going to be like messaging me, and it's a lot for someone like myself. So eventually I listened to her. She sent me, literally, she set up for me. She did the like the icon pictures and the highlights and stuff like that, and told me what to hashtag. So it was her to thank. But it was so strange, because once I think it was like day 2 of having an Instagram account, I got a couple of follows, and then I went to St. Bart's for my results, and for my results since having chemotherapy. So my last chemotherapy 3 months after. And when I went into my, before I went into my appointment, I bumped into Lorraine Kelly. And it was so random. And it was like, you know, when I was like in the moment of like, I wanted to record the moments of like going into the hospital and, you know, recording myself like a influencer. And I was like, that person looks so familiar. Because I talk to people so much, I was like, you look lovely, by the way. And she was like, oh, so do you, my love. And I was like, but sorry, I can't do a Scottish accent, so do not ask me to, okay? And then I was like, that has to be her. And then she pulled out her mask and I was like, oh my gosh, she is gorgeous. That is Reielle Kelly. That's Reielle Kelly. And we sat there and spoke for like 15 minutes and she was so genuine and so lovely and just so real. And I was like, not like, oh, I expected her to be fake, but it was like, this is almost surreal because this is what I needed. Maybe somebody that is on that level of like TV host type stuff to make me feel somewhat better. And then within, I don't know, the space of like half an hour, she had posted a picture that we took together on her own Instagram. And I thought that was going to be it. But she messaged me and she still messages me to this day. And she is such a lovely soul. And I feel like that, along with my family members and family friends, keeps me motivated to keep posting and hashtagging and making ATC just out there.
On Afterthoughts, we're now going to look at the Not Your Average section. This is a chance for us to hear a story about something that someone who's gone through cancer might understand more so than someone who hasn't gone through cancer.
I want to work, guys. Like, I want to work. I want to have, I'm not saying I don't have a purpose or other people who don't have a purpose who don't work, but I want to. I want to be in the kitchen. I want to wake up in the morning. I want to wake up in the morning and be like, oh gosh, got to go up. Get up for work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to do that again. I want to have a coffee at prep and march my way into the kitchen. I want to be shouted at by the head chef for messing up something. Like, I want that all again. Like, I just feel like I wish I was able to like pick up a knife and chop properly, but I have these things where my hands just get really really, really, really shaky. So for example, I could be doing something normal and I could be out with my friends having dinner actually and have the knife fork in my hand and this hand will start to shake and it will look really bad in front of them, but they understand. But the waiter coming towards me is looking at me like, is everything okay? Then I open my tablets because I have to have a tablet before I eat and then after I eat. So for International Women's Day, I was blessed with the opportunity to go to the Soho House to work with 5 lovely female chefs, and we catered for 25 females that work in the Soho House, and they've done amazing things for the Soho House community. And it was amazing working with them. I missed it so much. And I used to work in events, working with the chefs themselves and seeing how they work, seeing how they work as women together was just like old times. Like, I wished I could be back in that kitchen. But there was just moments where I was like, you know what, put down, like, I was like picking leaves or whatever, put down the leaves because you can't even feel the leaves that you're touching right now. Sometimes I put my hands in the cold water and I couldn't feel it. I was like, this is so like, why am I feeling like this? But I feel like the one thing that got me the most was when I started to feel really, really fatigued. And I had to literally walk out of not walk out of the kitchen, but walk out of the square that the kitchen was in and sit outside and watch them plate up, because I felt like I was going to have an adrenal crisis. And I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of what kind of crises are. Yeah. So the adrenal one is pretty much fight or flight mode. So I went and sat down, and luckily every single woman there understood. Every single woman there was like, you know what? We're not going to make a big hoo-ha out of this. We're going to give her some food. So literally all of their dishes, they gave me some of their dim sum, their salad, the dessert, this and that, to get my sugars up, to get my, to get me back up again, because I didn't want to fall into that moment of being like, I'm going to pass out. I just felt really tired, like randomly. Like I couldn't even tell you guys I was feeling this out before, because I wasn't. I was in the moment, enjoying life. I was literally smiling, laughing. The sous chef, she was the coolest person ever. She's such a cool chef. Like, if I could work with her in the future, that would be the best job in my life, like literally.
As As ever, the last section of Afterthoughts is Don't Laugh, because we know that cancer can actually be funny sometimes. So I am going to hand over to Reielle so that she can try and make us laugh with one of her funny stories about cancer. Reielle, whenever you are ready.
Okay, so the last day of my chemotherapy, me and my nurse have a great relationship. Honestly, she's like a second mum to me. And I was really, 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 really down in the dumps. Like, I didn't even want to do my last round. And I told all the nurses, I said to them, I'm not doing it, cancel it. Like, I'm not doing it today. And they kept begging me. And I was like, no, it's not happening. And I messaged my nurse and I said to her, like, I'm not doing chemotherapy today. She was like, Reielle, it's your last one. Like, come on. I was like, it's not happening. No. She's like, what can I do? And I was like, nothing. There's nothing you can do. I don't want to do it. And then she was like, randomly, she was like, Reielle, what's your favorite song to like dance to? I was like, Tina Maria. I think it was, what was it? Was it Make Love Like Springtime? And I remember saying to her, and I was thinking, like, why are you asking what my favorite song is? Like, this is not the time to ask me my favorite song. Like, this is a bit, have some courtesy how I'm feeling right now, miss, okay? So what she had done was she went and made, it's called Square Biz. So it's called Square Biz by Tina Marie. And she came in the room dancing with a hat she made, and the hat was made out of paper. And because I'm a flower girl, I love gardening. I love everything to do with gardens. She made like flowers made out of like paper and stuck them to the hat. And she had the hat on her head. And she came in dancing with like a wine glass of elderflower cordial, because obviously I couldn't have any alcohol. And she came in dancing. This is like a woman in her like 50s, yeah. She came in dancing and she was just giving it her all. And I was just like, when your mood goes from like 0 to 100, it just changed my mood because one, I love the song and it's just such a just hear this, just how it starts, please. And she just came in just like, and she was like, yeah, party time. And I was like, okay, it's party time. And that just changed my mood immediately. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this chemotherapy. I got this. It's only 1 hour. I was being so selfish. It was only 1 hour of chemo. And I started it. And do you know what? I feel like that was the funniest thing for me because I don't think anyone in that moment could have changed my mood. I feel like it was just her. And it was just so funny to me because just not everything in life needs to be so doom and gloom. And she knew she could actually make my day, change my mood, make me laugh and make me smile. And yeah, that is my one story. I know there's definitely more, but I feel like they involve swearing. And I'm not going to do that. Yeah? And there's
The power of Tina Maria.
The power, yeah.
Love her.
Yeah, that's great. What a magical thing for us.
Literally, she didn't have to as well. It was that's the most funniest thing. She was like in the office doing like stapling the flowers to the hat and type of thing. And I thought it was cool. It was nice to know someone made an extra effort for me, like in a time where I really did need it. So yeah. So appreciated.
Oh, what a legend.
Honestly, Carmel, you legend.
Yeah.
Carmel, yeah, amazing.
And well, that's it for the end of our episode, our time with you, Reielle. Thank you so much for coming on and being our storyteller and sharing with us these incredible stories.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fantastic. You have been a great storyteller. We have loved having you. And I feel like I want to play.
Yes.
Reielle, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. Honestly, I really, really appreciate it.
There we are. That is the first episode of Series 5 with the wonderful Reielle.
What an absolute legend. I loved that conversation with Reielle so much. And
I feel like, again, we're kicking off, and we're kicking off kicking off. Can you kick off hard? I don't know if you can kick off hard, but we've kicked off hard for series 1 because we talked about this in the introduction of the kind of reflections on somebody who's had a rare cancer and what that means as well, because hey, when you're a young person getting cancer, that's rare enough, right? And it is something that's it's definitely not a case of like one being worse than the other or any kind of top trump games that we want to play with that, but it is a like very much different experience for somebody who is having a rare cancer to understand the narratives of what might be happening. And that was one of the things I really got from Reielle.
Absolutely. And I loved her, I know I always say this, I always seem to come back to this, but I loved her candidness and her honesty about her experiences around that and how that made her feel. And I just think, I had breast cancer, and breast cancer is one of the most common cancers, and even blood cancer as well, right, is one of the most common cancers for young people. So for us, it was really easy to find connection with other people who had the same type of cancers as us. And I just, I think, she said that she found 5 people with similar cancers to her, and they weren't necessarily the same type of people. They weren't her age or her race, or they weren't women. And I just, it's isolating enough.
Yeah, and then she said she found one other black woman who had ACC. So, yeah, and I would love to explore with that my afterthoughts, if that's all right.
Oh, please, Toby, go ahead. What are your afterthoughts on today's episode of Afterthoughts? What a lovely segue.
Thanks so much. But I do want to talk about, I want to talk about connection. And I think one of the things with Series 5, we are recording this, it's May 2022, and we are in a stage of the pandemic, which is that the majority of the UK are not in a place of lockdown. It feels, if you are in some circles, it can feel like the pandemic is not something we're talking about. There's lots of other things going on in the world. But we know that for the cancer community, it's something that's still very prevalent. And we're also hearing stories, I think, from people who have been diagnosed during the pandemic or have had treatment during the pandemic, and that's really different to, I think, for me anyway, when I had my treatment 10 years ago. Very different world and very different connections. And I think one of the things that we heard from Reielle was this sense of how we can connect to people, how can we still do this, and the ways of doing it digitally as well, like that being a way that you can do that, and finding ways, and how important that is, how important it is to see your narrative, and to see that being played out, and to understand, I'm not alone in this.
And that's why organisations like Alike and Trekstock are so crucial, and it's why they do what they do, so that you can find people who have similar lived experience to you, because then you can, you don't have to explain too much, you don't have to deal with, the sympathetic head tilt. You don't have to, you don't have to explain why you've gone bald. You don't have to say that you haven't gone into modelling. It just allows you to make those connections in a way that feels more organic and just easier. And I think it's just so crucial. Being diagnosed with cancer at a young age is isolating and can be a very lonely place, and anything that can be done to reduce that is so important.
So, Alice, tell me your afterthoughts on today's episode of Afterthoughts.
My afterthoughts on today's episode of Afterthoughts it was when Reielle was talking about her experiences at Soho House. I just thought, cancer's shit, obviously, understatement, but there are some amazing opportunities that can come our way, and I just really, I thought that opportunity that she got was fantastic, but I felt really frustrated for her in a lot of ways, because that opportunity was still kind of narrowed in some ways by the side effects that she had as a result of her cancer treatment. And I think we have to learn to live with so much as young adult cancer patients. And, I was really, not moved is the wrong word, but I really liked Reielle's approach to, I don't want a pity party. But I think lots of people who have been through cancer at a young age, are like, I don't want a pity party, but I just want somebody to listen to me when I say, I have to do it. I have to do it this way. I have to live this way with these slight adjustments. I have to make these adjustments because of my fatigue. I have to make these adjustments because of, I might go into adrenal crisis. And I just think that's really interesting. And I think, even if you're 10 years down the line, even if you're 7 years down the line or whatever, there are still just little tweaks we have to make to our lives, even when these amazing opportunities come our way. And I just thought that was really interesting. And, we don't want a pity party necessarily, but we just have to tweak things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is just the constant, just little, as you say, sometimes they're not even big adjustments, and sometimes we can make them comfortably ourselves, like we just see. And it's just little things where just tapping ourselves in the direction we want to go. And sometimes we come across things in society which we're having to do a little bit more tapping because of the situation, because of what we've gone through and stuff. And it's okay. It's hard and sometimes really complicated and sometimes really uncomfortable. But also there are points when it's like, okay, this is just kind of what I'm tapping. Oh, tapping. What's this tapping thing? I don't know what that is.
Sometimes it's a tap and sometimes it's a nudge, right? And sometimes it's a big steer that you have to do.
Yes.
And it's the size of the adjustments. And, Reielle had to make a big adjustment that day when she was at Soho House. And it's just I think awareness that the world has of the adjustments that not just people who've had cancer have to make, but people who have other things that adjustments need to be made for. I think it's just awareness and empathy. And I think just we need more of that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think it's a lovely note to finish the episode on and say thank you so much to Reielle again for coming on.
Thank you to Reielle for coming on and sharing her light and wisdom and grace.
Yes, and thank you, Anatomy Purkiss, for you being you.
Thanks, Toby, for being you.
Thank you so much. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in for the first episode on Series 5. There's plenty more to come, and we look forward to being in your ears again very soon.
Very soon indeed. Goodbye for now.
If today's episode of Afterthoughts has brought up any thoughts or feelings that you'd like to speak to someone about, we really recommend grabbing a cuppa with a friend or dropping them a message. There are tons of charities out there who can help you if you've been through cancer and need a bit of extra psychological support.
AfterThoughts is supported by Trekstock and Alike. If you've been diagnosed with cancer in your 20s or your 30s, whatever type, whatever stage, Trekstock will help get you moving, get connected, and create the life you want beyond your diagnosis. Alike is a game-changing peer support platform because living with cancer can be lonely. Speaking to others who've been there, done that, and worn the unflattering hospital gown makes all the difference. Alike is powered by friendship.